I'm sure all of you guys have seen that fellow Akash. What's up, nigga? How you doing?
So I'm sure all you guys already have seen that fellow Akash across social media. I'm not going to say the surface level stuff. You guys probably know the story. Um, Plenty of other surface level commentary channels will address all that. I'm not here to say the obvious, like obviously he should leave the relationship. Rather, I want to add something to the conversation that I don't think anybody else would ever talk about on YouTube. Not just because it's politically incorrect, but just because it is so autistic and niche that, like, who else other than an autist like myself would think about this kind of thing? And it revolves around stepping a bit too far out of your genetic lane and the consequences that it has. So we talked about on the main channel how somebody who is a sub 5 or even a normie can compensate through money and status and be able to get somebody with a little higher SMV or just get somebody in general. But what we never really addressed is the gamble that's involved. It's like going to a casino. If you step a little bit too far out of your lane, there's going to be drastic consequences. And we see that with Akash. Unfortunately, Akash, he stepped a little bit too far out of his genetic lane and he is facing the consequences for it. Not only out of his genetic lane, but I don't think that he has the sufficient finances and status to properly compensate because he's very popular, a lot of status, but now for the wrong reasons. He's just seen as a jester. We're not laughing with him, we're laughing at him. It's not like he has competence like Dave Chappelle. That's a competent comedian, very successful. He's more just a jester that we're making fun of, and that's why he has the status. It's being infamous. It's not something that's helping his SMV, and I don't think he makes a drastically high amount of money, but I think he makes enough money where he can reasonably compensate and explore that beta side of him to get somebody with a higher SMV to himself. And this is the trade off that I wanted to discuss in today's video of how many people have the opportunity to make this trade off. And the trade off involves if you're going to step out of your genetic lane, whereas Akash, instead of going for someone who is his SMV or lower, which would be ideal for a true desired relationship, a good, healthy relationship, if he's going to step out of that lane and try to shoot higher for somebody who is a much higher SMV, well, then there's going to be consequences for that. And depending on the odds of the house, depending on the casino he's going to, in this case, the woman, sometimes those odds may not always be in his favor, and it may be in his best interest to leave the relationship. And we obviously see that's the case here. I think it's pretty obvious advice that he should leave this relationship, especially because I think he's even articulated that he doesn't want to have children. So now it's like, what the fuck is this entire trade off for? Like, it's one thing if you're going to have kids with someone with a higher SMV, and then you're going to have a more attractive child, sacrificing your dignity so your child could have, better genes. That is somewhat understandable, but he said he doesn't even want to have kids. So, like, what the fuck is the point in this trade off that he's making? Is it just so he can have the once a year sex with her? Because it's unlikely that they're having frequent sex. She doesn't seem to have any desire for him at all. It's very unfortunate. Well, we'll leave it at that. It's very unfortunate, but this was a piece of nuance that I wanted to add to the conversation because I don't think there's anybody else who would address it. And it's the consequences of stepping out of your genetic lane. This isn't just with Akash. We see it all the time with billionaires, millionaires, people who aren't very attractive but are with very attractive people, like an older man with a younger woman. Everybody makes it clear on social media, like, oh, she's with him just for money. And these are the consequences of stepping out of your genetic lane. And society always likes to point that out. And we see in the case of Akash how bad it could really get when you step so far out of your genetic lane that the consequences are this drastic. So I'm sure it wasn't always like this. Like in the beginning, he explained she was always good to him and she believed in him when he was broke. And so during that honeymoon stage, while she was feeling it out and testing boundaries here and there, it was probably fine. But because she felt out his SMV, started seeing that this guy is not going to leave no matter how disrespectful I get, just little by little, it just gets worse and worse, worse and worse. And because she's finally realized how much higher her SMV is than his, then, or at least because he's attached and it seems that way to her, at least she perceives it that way. Because Akash isn't like some Indian janitor, okay? Like, he's not a sub 3. He's got green eyes, which is a very rare thing for his race. That's a positive going for him. And, I'm going to stop myself here from trying to come up with positives for him because then we'll probably just have a long pause. Let me just sip my coffee just in case. I was going to say his competence, but we're not really laughing with him. We're laughing at him. It's not the Dave Chappelle kind of competence. It's more of a jester. That's why people know his name. So can't say that. But he's got green eyes. Anyway, the point is that Akash could be okay, He could find somebody else, but he's too attached to this woman now. And he's now facing the repercussions of stepping a bit too far out of his genetic lane. And that's not only from all the people in society making fun of him. Basically, he looks like a public cuck now. But on top of that, his wife literally has no desire for him. Like, I can't imagine how he enjoys that relationship at all. But because he's attached, now he's not going to be able to escape it necessarily. It is unfortunate. But yeah, such are the consequences of stepping a bit too far out of your genetic lane. Society makes sure to check you, and the female eventually figures it out as well. And then you face the consequences if you decide to stay in that relationship. And that's the disrespect just keeps on getting worse and worse and worse. She keeps testing more and more boundaries, and yeah, it's not good. So good luck to my boy Akash. I'm hoping you get through this situation. I encourage you to leave, but I know you're incapable of such.